Full and uncut versions available on Patreon. Check in the description below.
Greetings once again, Pokemaniacs. Duuz-Diz-Din back again with more of the Pokemon Adventures manga. The Ruby and Sapphire story arc, where we were introduced to a young man called Ruby, moving from the Johto region to the town of Littleroot in Hoenn. Ruby's dad, Norman, has become the new gym leader of the Petalburg City Gym. Unfortunately, Ruby is less than inclined for battling. He prefers contests and making his Pokemon look fabulous, and so he has decided to run away from home. During this, he ends up meeting Professor Birch, who is being accosted by some Mightyena. But Ruby is unwilling to battle, so he's chased into a forest, only to be saved by Professor Birch's daughter, Sapphire, a bit of a wild child as it were, who comes to Ruby's aid, but is injured in the process. During an encounter with the Viper, Ruby and Sapphire's ways of thinking ultimately clash. Ruby is all about contests and being prim and proper, and his Pokemon looking pristine, while Sapphire is all about the rough and tumble lifestyle of battling, looking to be someone who challenges the gyms of the Hoenn region. And so Sapphire strikes a bet with Ruby. The two of them will try to beat their respective goals in 80 days. The one who comes out on top, the winner. So Ruby takes off, leaving some clothes that he made out of a version of his behind for Sapphire for her journey. But afterwards, when Sapphire meets up with her father, the professor is with Ruby's mother, who talks about Ruby running away. They immediately inform Norman, who goes on a bit of the warpath. But afterwards, Sapphire goes off on her journey, and unlike Ruby, with the blessing of her father, Ruby runs into a young boy called Wally, who has a bit of a breathing problem, as it were. Could relate at that age, but Wally is determined to catch his first Pokemon. Ruby looks to help out, but Wally says he already has some help from none other than Ruby's father, Norman. He's in Petalburg City after all. What'll happen next? Join me as I find out, won't you? We pick up with Ruby and Wally hiding in a bush, ducking away from Norman. Wally, in a bit of shouting whisper, says, "You're dead? You're the son of a gym leader?" Ruby tells him, "Shh." Wally asks, "How come you're hiding from your dad?" Ruby says, "That's confidential," as he tries to sneak away, while we see Norman's Vigoroth just kind of swinging at the air. Wally says, "Oh, okay, well, I'm gonna go see your dad now. We made a plan to meet here." Ruby says, "Please don't," when suddenly a Berloom? Is that it? A Berloom comes running past? Which, yeah, not a Pokemon I'm used to. I've just never really been interested in the design. While the Berloom comes bursting out of the woods, well, the bushes that Wally was next to, probably scared by Wally. Norman and his Vigoroth turn with a "huh?" seeing just the Berloom, and not Wally and Ruby just past it. Norman says, "Wild Pokemon?" But the Berloom goes right in for the attack. Oh god, it has hands? Huh, I don't know why I always thought this Pokemon didn't have hands. Weird. Yeah, it does. They're just usually at its side. That's so weird. I thought this Pokemon didn't have hands. Well, the Berloom goes in with its claws, while Norman calls out his Vigoroth to use Aerial Ace, and it slashes at the Berloom, taking it down in an instant. In Chapter 186, brushing past Berloom, Berloom goes down, and hard. Norman says, a Berloom, a Pokemon characterized by swift movements and punches that stretch out a long way. Oh, I didn't actually know that part. Again, not a fan of that one. I know Vigoroth. Norman says, "But it's no match for my Vigoroth. Aerial Ace never misses and never fails." Alright then, I don't know why you're hiding, but you can come out now. In fact, you had better. Another wild Pokemon might happen along at any moment. Wally. And Wally bursts out of the bush saying, "Yes, sir." He says, "I'm sorry, Mr. Norman, I wasn't feeling well, but thanks so much for coming here today. Will you teach me how to capture a Pokemon now?" And Norman immediately says, "No," much to Wally's shock, as well as Ruby, who's still hiding in the bush. Wally whirls around Norman saying, "But you promised." Norman tells him, "Wally, when you first asked me to teach you how to capture a Pokemon, you neglected to mention your illness. That was intentional, wasn't it?" Wally, is at a bit of a loss for words. Norman says, I talked to your parents about it, and apparently your condition is quite serious. So serious that you're moving to a place where you can get the medical treatment you need. You did observe this battle just now, didn't you? Between my Vigoroth and that wild Breloom? Handling a Pokemon entails more risk than you realize. Even a healthy trainer could end up in grave danger. You've never had a Pokemon of your own, and I cannot take responsibility for you getting hurt. So again, no. Which, kind of understandable. I see Ruby getting angry in the bush there, but he has a good point. You know, he doesn't really want to encourage Wally to put himself in more danger and potentially die because of the condition he's in. It's harsh, but I get where he's coming from, especially if you have kids. But Norman stopped saying, strange. I feel another presence nearby. See, that's a weird thing that keeps coming up in this series. Trainers who are of a higher caliber being able to sense others' presences. Ruby says, oh no, and starts bounding away when Norman brings out his Slacking, and Slacking gives off a massive roar into the brush, carving up some bushes. Norman walks down the newly carved path saying, I know you're hiding out there. Come out, whoever you are. You must be wandering around confused thanks to Slacking's swagger. His swagger. But as Norman looks out, he doesn't see Ruby hiding just underneath him under a bit of a cliff. A very small cliff. More of a sheer drop. Norman goes, thinking, guess I imagined it. While Ruby is hiding with his Skitty, thinking, that was close. I'm glad Kiki used Safeguard to protect me from confusion. Talked about lucky. But as Ruby makes his way out of the bush, he notices Wally down on the ground. I guess back at Wally's house. Have we ever seen his parents before? I feel like we haven't. Yeah, I only ever remember them being mentioned, but I don't remember ever seeing them outright. That's wild. I kind of like that, though. Well, Wally's mother says, I don't know who you are. His dad says, thank you very much. The mother says, Wally's been very frail ever since he was a little boy. You know it's late. Why don't you stay here for the night? Ruby nervously says, okay, thanks. I really appreciate it. As they close the door, Ruby thinks, I wanted to get out of town as fast as I can, though. Wally in bed takes off his breathing mask, saying, your name's Ruby, right? I'm sorry. Ruby turns, questioning, you're still awake? Wally, still not looking any better, says, my parents must have made Norman promise not to let me have my own Pokemon. I'm going to be moving to a new town. I don't know anything about it or anyone there. Forget all about this place. Ruby thinks for a moment, then says, Wally, remember how I told you my dream was to become a Pokemon contest champion? Well, my father is always telling me give up silly dreams like that and work on becoming a Pokemon battle master like me. That's how come I ran away. Wally says, I see. Ruby tells him, parents worry, and their kids want to try something new. I know. Let's go to the place we were today, Wally. Let's go and show the grown-ups what you can do. This is my Ralts, Rara. But tonight, my Pokemon is your Pokemon. Wally says, thank you. Oh, Ruby says, just don't get it dirty. We cut to the outskirts of Petalburg City as Wally and Ruby make their way to an area that's marked danger. Landslide due to earthquakes, no trespassing. Naturally, they ignore it because children. As Wally's coughing up a friggin' lung, Ruby says, okay, this is the spot. Come on, let's capture your first Pokemon. Wally says, alright, but are you sure it's safe for us to be out here at night? Ruby turns to him saying, too late to wonder now. The night has a unique beauty of its own. Look, as Wally sees several, what are these called again? Volbeetle and Illumis. Yeah, there's the two different types, right? Because we got to a point where male and female typings are kind of differentiated. Well, you get the kind of Nido Reno kind of differentiation. Wally says, wow, looking at the light, saying what beauty. Ruby says, look over there. Those Pokemon are cute. That one looks smart. The cute ones are Surfskirt, and the smart one is Linoon. Yeah, Linoon. Man, if only it was a Galarian Linoon. Oh, man. I'm still thinking of my Alstagoon. Oh, my big buddy. Ruby says, wow, so many choices. Which one are you going to go after, Wally? You've got an empty Pokeball on you, right? But suddenly there's a rustling behind that Wally takes notice of. He says, hey, look over there, Ruby. In chapter 187, Tongue-Tied Kelsion, as we see a pattern moving across the forest. Wally points, saying, "What's that? A strange zigzag mark just floating there." Ruby says, "That's weird. Is it a Pokemon?" Mudkip goes up to it and is slapped away immediately. Ruby holds back Wally, saying, "Stand, something invisible attacked it. Stand back, Wally." But Mudkip, he's pissed and goes in. As Ruby says, "Stop, Moo Moo. Don't go after it." But Mudkip use dig or dirt slash or I don't know, throws mud in its face, and we make out the shape of the Kelsion. Ruby says, "Hey, that's Kelsion, the color swap Pokemon." As Kelsion uses its tongue to wrap around Mudkip's throat, Mudkip struggles into Kelsion's tongue grip. Ruby says, "I get it. That invisible attack was its tongue." As dang, Mudkip just throws the tongue to the ground like it ain't even nothing. Kelsion beats feet, but Wally calls out, "Wait!" while Ruby calls out for Wally. As the two take off, Ruby says, "There's no need to rush. There are tons of other Pokemon to choose from." But Wally pants with excitement, saying, "But Ruby, I want that one." Ruby says, "Huh? That Pokemon? Are you sure, Wally? You'll never be able to compete in contests with a Pokemon like that." Ruby says, "I don't want to Wally says, "I don't want to compete," as Ruby shakes him. The two then take off again. Wally saying, "I think having a Pokemon who can disappear will be really cool." Ruby dismissively says, "Well, if you say so, I won't stand in your way." But as the two make their way to a clearing, they go, "Oh, wow," as they can look out to the ocean and the moon. Ruby says, "What a view! I didn't know this side of Petalburg was on the seashore." Wally says, "That's Sea Route 105. But there are big tsunamis every now and then, so not a lot of people come here." But then Ruby spots the Kelsion, saying, "Over there, it's that Kelsion. Go for it, Wally. Call out Rara." As Wally holds the ball with the Ralts in it, Ruby tells him, "Now approach it gradually, using Rara's moves." Wally says, "Okay, Ruby," and he sends out the Ralts, saying, "Go, Rara." Oh, Ralts uses some very powerful move on the Kelsion, with Ruby patting Wally on the back, saying, "Good job, Wally. That's confusion, one of Rara's best moves. Don't retreat, and have Rara keep using that move." Wally says, "Will do." Ruby says, "That's it, Wally. Now throw the Pokeball." Wally throws the Pokeball, but Kelsion manages to catch it with its tongue, spitting it off to the side. Wally goes, "Oh." Ruby says, "Well, that's annoying and unattractive." "But don't give up. Try again." Wally says, "Okay," as he tosses another Pokeball at Kelsion easily bats away with his tongue. Wally's starting to get winded. As Ruby asks, "Are you okay, Wally?" But Wally pants, saying, "That's weird. I still can't catch a Pokemon, but I don't feel all frustrated this time. Actually, I'm having fun." "Oh, you're moving to Vandertuff, or Verdanturf town." Wally says, "It's kind of hard to breathe after all that exertion." Ruby says, "Hey now, don't go collapsing on me again." Wally tells him, "Don't worry, I won't." Suddenly there's a rumble in the jungle. As Ruby says, "By the way, do you hear something strange?" Wally, clasping Ralt's hand, says, "Yes, I do. Might be an earthquake. We had a lot of them lately." Ruby says, "Well, we'd better hurry up and get back to town then." But as Wally and Ruby try to make their way, suddenly the ground beneath Ruby cracks open. Wally calls out to Ruby, and as Ruby grabs onto a tree as it goes sinking in, full-on mudslide action, Ruby says, "Rara, take care of Wally." And suddenly water just splashes across him, washing him away, as Wally desperately calls out for Ruby. Oh, we see a bus for Verdanturf town outside Wally's house. As Wally awakens in his bed, Ralt's at his bedside. Wally wakes up saying, "Ow, Rara, did you carry me home? I have to go help Ruby." I'll tell the grown-ups, and Ralts grabs him. Wally questions, "Why are you stopping me? Ruby could be at the bottom of the sea by now." Ralts shakes her head, and her horn begins to glow. Wally saying, "Your horn, it's glowing? You mean you're saying Ruby is alive?" Wally looks out with hope. 77 days left until the deadline. Okay, we see that Sapphire has made her way to Route 104, whereas Ruby has bypassed it accidentally and ended up in Route 105 and beyond. He no longer has Rara in his party too. Okay, we cut the outskirts of Petalburg City, Route 104, where a crowd has gathered around a fountain where Sapphire is reaching into the fountain of a Helibird? I think that's what it is. What is she doing? Enter Gabby and Ty. Gabby moves through the crowd to get to Ty. She asks, hey, what's going on here? Ty says, oh, hi, Gabby. Gabby then points to the fountain saying, what's that girl doing paddling in that fountain? Ty says, apparently a Pokemon fell and she's trying to save it. Oh. Gabby questions, her Pokemon? Ty says, not exactly. We see a man off to the side saying, that's enough, young lady. While Sapphire tells them, don't give up. I'm sure your Pokemon's in here somewhere. It fell into the fountain, right? The man says, right. I couldn't find it around the bottom. Oh, Sapphire says, I couldn't find it around the bottom because it got sucked into the intake valve. It should have gone through the pipe and out through the top. The gentleman says, but you don't have to do this. Sapphire calls out, don't worry about it, mister. While the old gentleman calls out, have the people from the waterworks department arrived yet? Sapphire, demounting the fountain, says, it's going to be too late if you wait for them. Plus, I have a hunch. And she starts sniffing about where it is. And she brings out her Aaron, who begins biting into the fountain. Ty is shocked, saying, hey. While Gabby is aghast, saying, it's eating the fountain? Hey, the Pokemon is eating that metal pillar. Sapphire says, okay, go. And she starts pulling off where the metal was crunched down. The fountain bursts as Sapphire calls out, come on! Splashes water all over the place. Gabby saying, what just happened? While Ty's more worried about his soaked camera. As Gabby, blinks through all the water on her face, she sees through it that Sapphire has managed to get a cast form out of the fountain. The gentleman says, cast form, while Sapphire says, attracted by smell. Ty questions, by smell? Have you ever heard such a thing, Gabby? The gentleman says, thank you. Oh, thank you. The Sapphire sits down saying, it's too early to thank me. Come on, chick. And Torchic comes out and uses flame to warm up cast form, who looks very deathly ill. Sapphire saying, gotta warm it up. Hey, it's Mr. Stone. Okay, I thought the president of the Devon Corporation. I thought he looked familiar. It was as soon as he took off his hat, I'm like, wait, why do I feel like I know this guy? Mr. Stone says, is it all right for your Pokemon to eat iron? As the Aaron is still munching down on that iron, Sapphire brings out her Pokedex saying, big eater that one, huh? Iron's the best thing to feed an Aaron. See, nothing to worry about. And she brings out her Pokedex reading, Aaron, the Iron Armor Pokemon. This Pokemon has a body of steel. To make its body, Aaron feeds on iron ore that it digs from mountains. Occasionally, it causes major trouble by eating bridges and rails. Ty says, well, that's a relief. Gabby shouts, what are you doing? Show some respect. That man is the president of Devon Corporation. Ty says, that's right. Gabby says, girl saves distressed president. That is big news. Let's go and interview her. Go and ask her if she'll talk to us. And she pushes Ty forward, who says, okay. Hey, miss, would you be willing to speak with me for a moment? As Sapphire's getting her Aaron off the iron, she says, what you want? As she sees Ty pointing his camera, Sapphire looks into it saying, you a TV guy? Wow, I'm really in the big city now, huh? And it's so noisy, but I ain't a big fan of TV. And she bounces off of Ty's head, grabbing onto a lamppost. Gabby comes running over, shouting at Ty, saying, what are you doing? Or is it Ty shouting at Sapphire? Can't really tell. But Gabby then notices something in the fountain, saying, hey, what's this? He sees that the bars of the fountain that would suck things in have been cut. Gabby thinks the mesh over the intake hole has been cut. That's how come the president's Pokemon got sucked into it. Which, dang, that's quick. But then again, it might have just been splashing around in the fountain, which usually wouldn't be too dangerous. Oh. It was a plot. We see 3 nearby men, one of which goes, Urgh. He says into his Pokegear, we've got trouble. Some weird girl showed up and destroyed the fountain where we set our trap. The person on the other line questions, a child destroyed the fountain? Very funny. The man says, I'm serious. Oh, him, Archie. The guy says, I'm serious. The president of the Devon Corporation walks by the fountain every day with his cast form. All we had to do was trap it in the fountain. then show up disguised as people from the Department of Waterworks and kidnap him. Everything was going according to plan when that girl, Archie says, I see. This mission must not end in failure. The president has to be kidnapped today. I wish to go about this in strictest secrecy, but it appears we have no alternative. Use every means at our disposal as much force as necessary, and thus the members of Team Aqua stand revealed. And so we have Shelly, who, remember when Shelly was a redhead? That was a wild change. I still believe it's weird to have changed the characters, and the other dude, the big dude, is Matt, which is also kind of weird. I don't know who Amber is. Yeah, that's a new one on me. Matt, Shelly, and Amber. What wild designs. Well, what they end up getting later down the line. And the entirety of the Eggman for both Magma and Aqua end up getting radical different designs. The members of Team Aqua say, yes, sir. As Mr. Stone looks up to Sapphire, he questions, what's your name? Are you from the city? Sapphire pops back on her shoes saying, nah, I'm on a training journey. I'm going around home to battle at all the Pokemon gyms. My name's Sapphire. Mr. Stone says, I see. My name is Stone. At any rate, I wish to offer you my deepest gratitude. My company is located in the next town over. Would you care to travel with me? But Sapphire suddenly smells something and pounces down in a protective stance, along with her Pokemon. Gabby questions, something wrong? As Sapphire says, there's something still in there. Inside the intake hole. So we see 3 sets of eyes light up, and a Sharpedo, Carvana, and of all things, a Lombre come bursting out of the water to attack. Poor Chick and Aaron are at the ready. Poor Chick goes up against the Sharpedo, where Aaron goes up against the Carvish. How do I say this? Carvana. See, I'm more used to its more evolved form. Oh, Sapphire tries to go up against the... Okay, now I'm forgetting this one's name. I am so bad with names into this one. Ludicolo. I wanted to say Ludicolo, but no, not Ludicolo. Lombre. There we go. Lombre. The little Lombre. But Lombre manages to dive past Sapphire, jumps on Mr. Stone, rips through his clothes, grabs something, and then races off. Gabby says, that Lombre stole something from the president. And as the other Pokemon back off and into the fountain, Sapphire says, hey, mister. Mr. Stone begins to pass out, while Sapphire just hefts the big man onto her shoulders, saying, hang on tight, we're going after that Pokemon. And she takes off with Mr. Stone and her Pokemon in tow. In chapter 189, mowing down Ludicolo. Yeah, the other water Pokemon jump back into the fountain, but the Ludicolo is beaten feet, followed by Sapphire and her Pokemon with Mr. Stone on Sapphire's back, while Gabby and Ty follow. And Gabby and Ty are getting a lot of attention. Good stuff. Gabby says, Ty, this must have all been planned. Ty says, huh? What makes you say that? Gabby explains. 1. The grill over the intake hole was cut. 2. It was the president's cast form that got trapped in it. And 3. After it got freed, which I don't think was supposed to be, those other Pokemon jumped out. Sapphire says she's right. Those other Pokemon were taking orders from someone. Ty asks, how can you tell? Sapphire explains marks. All 3 of them had a mark like this on their body. The mark of Team Aqua. Which, why would you brand that? Then again, a lot of these evil teams are about branding. Gabby questions, you noticed marks on them? But they were moving so fast. Ty says, your eyesight must be amazing. Gabby says, this doesn't look good. That forest the Lombre escaped into, the Petalburg Wood, is like a maze. As they enter into the woods, Gabby asks, your name's Sapphire, right? It's dangerous to walk around here, especially carrying an injured person on your back. The Sapphire says, quiet. I hear people whispering. Gabby looks around saying, what? Where? Sapphire repeats, we're as good as done once we get him off our tail in the Petalburg Wood. Something like that. Silly people. My pop's a professor who does his research in the mountains, forests, sea. I've been brought up in the wild. I'm much better off in the forest than the city. She tells her Torchic, Chick, over there. And Torchic starts burning the bushes. And as Gabby says, hey, Gabby says, hey, there's an opening in that bush. And I see people too, as the members of Team Aqua stand revealed. Amber says, "You're too late. That's quite a secret power move you have there. But you really surprised me at the fountain back there." Sapphire says, "Look, pal, I don't want to listen to you gabbing. I just want to know why you're using your Pokemon to steal stuff from folks." But Sapphire looks at the Pokemon brandishing Matt and Amber's Pokeballs. Okay, so the Ludicolo Shelly's. Did Shelly have a Ludicolo? I don't remember Shelly having a Ludicolo. Yeah, she had the Carvanha. Shelly originally had the Carvanha. And what did Matt have? Oh, Matt had a Carvanha too. Okay. How did Shelly end up with the Ludicolo? Of all Pokemon too. I mean, Shelly never struck me as a Ludicolo person. Or I should say Lombre. I keep wanting to call it Ludicolo. She thinks, where'd the Lombre go? Not noticing that underwater the Lombre is sneaking up right behind Gabby. And then it pops out of the water grabbing Gabby and Ty. Sapphire calls out, "Stop him, Chick! Rhino," as Torchic and Aaron go leaping forward, but Lombre manages to catch both in its hands while holding Gabby and Ty in the water with its feet. Shelly says, My, looks like your Torchic and Aaron are more tired than they appeared at first glance. Remember when they smashed into our Sharpedo and Carvanha? Those two have the rough skin ability. The slightest contact can damage your Pokemon. Oh yeah, forgot about that ability. Yeah, that thing, the rough skin ability kind of sucks. It's a good ability to have though. Oh, she didn't pulls out a Water Stone. I didn't know that's how you evolve a Lombre. Fagan, just to make certain you don't follow us, let's see how you like this final evolution. The Water Stone will evolve Lombre into Ludicolo. And Ludicolo pops out and just starts drowning everybody. Everybody gets drowned today. Sapphire calls out, "Chick, Rhino, hey, the TV people." Matt gets on his Matt has a ringing on his Pokegear. Archie calling out, "How are things going, Matt, Amber, Shelly?" Shelly says, "Our leader, Archie." Which, you should not be saying his name out loud, but whatever. Oh, Archie has a Corsola and a Remoraid and a Mantine and a Quillfish? Yeah, Quillfish in his tank. That's cool. Shelly says, "We're doing fine. We've managed to secure the key component of Submarine Explorer 1, located in Sterner's shipyard in Slateport City, just as ordered, sir." Archie smiles, saying, "Very good. And now all that's left is to eliminate the..." Oh no. Archie says very good, then Matt says all that's left is to eliminate the witnesses. Sapphire says, "At this rate, we're all gonna lose." But suddenly, Mr. Stone's cast form pops its head into view. Cast form begins changing shape. Sapphire thinks, the cast form changed shape. Is it trying to tell me something? Sapphire then realizes what cast form's saying. It says, "I got it. Now, Chick." Oh, did cast form just use Sunny Day? Potentially to increase fire Pokemon's abilities. Sapphire calls out, "Now, Chick." And Torchic starts to glow. Points towards Ludicolo. Shelly says, "What's going on?" As Torchic just unleashes a massive torrent of flames upward, blasting back Ludicolo, obscuring the view of the Team Aqua members just long enough to where when the fire clears, they say they're gone. As everyone has managed to get away. God, Sapphire is carrying everybody! Jeebus! Friggin' Mr. Stone, Gabby, and Ty, bringing him back to Rustboro City. As she sets him down, Ty says, "It's the entrance to Rustboro City. You made it through the forest." Gabby asks, "How did you do that?" Sapphire tells her, "I didn't. Castform did." Castform is a Pokemon that can change its shape by detecting changes in the weather. It told me the weather is gonna change soon and a strong ray of light is gonna shoot down from the sky. Pokédex reads, Castform, the weather Pokemon. Castform appearance changes with the weather. This Pokemon gained the ability to use the vast power of nature to protect its tiny body. As Torchic's over thanking Castform, Sapphire says, "Bright sunlight increases the power of fire-type moves." "Oh, you won, Castform." Gabby says it must have wanted to help the person who saved its life. Sapphire chuckles, but as Mr. Stone cries out in pain, Sapphire turns saying, "Oh, sorry." Gabby calls out to Mr. Stone as Ty helps him up asking, "Are you alright?" Mr. Stone says, "What about the component, the submarine?" Sapphire apologizes, saying, "Sorry, I couldn't get it back for you." Mr. Stone says, "I see." Gabby then tells him, "We're from Hoenn TV. We'll contact the police and inform the Devon Corporation HQ about this." Mr. Stone says, "Yes, thank you." "Sapphire, can you do me one more favor? You're planning to travel all the Pokemon gyms at Hoenn, aren't you? Can you do something for me on your way? When you pass through a town called Dewford, look for a man named Steven. When you find him, please hand him this letter." Right, Steven Stone. I keep forgetting that they're related. Oh, because Steven's one of the only characters with a last name out there. How Steven is a character who's never really registered in my mind. Just kind of took him on and went about my day. "And tell him what transpired here today. I trust you, please. Steven is my..." Ty calls out to Mr. Stone, who's in pain, while Sapphire says, "No problem. I'll deliver the letter for you." And we cut to Rustboro City, where Ruby is racing down the street. Man, she made it there fast. Saying, "I accepted the job, Mr. President. I'll find this Steven guy and give him your letter. But if those guys come after me again, I won't be able to defeat them the next time. I'm not strong enough." He then comes upon the Rustboro gym, saying, "I need to train more. Looks like this is my first stop. This'll be fun." In chapter 190, Blowing Past Nose Pass, Part 1, he burst in saying, "Excuse me, I'm here for the gym battle. Is the gym leader in?" Only to find a school building? Sapphire says, "I thought a Pokemon gym was a training facility for trainers. How come there's all these desks and chairs in here? Ain't this the gym?" Only for a bell to ring and several nerdy-looking dudes come rushing in right past Sapphire. He says, "What the? They're all starting to study. What is this place?" She walks out and double checks that it says Rustboro Gym. Says here it's the Rustboro Gym. It's right where the map that was drawn up for me says it is. She remembers Gabby handing over the map. He says maybe the gym leader took off so they closed up shop. Suddenly a door creaks open. A voice calling out, "No, I'm right here." As all the nerds start to blush. Meanwhile, at Rustboro Hospital, Ty says, "I hope the president of the Devon Corporation is all right." Gabby says, "Yes, hey, you know this story might turn out to be a lot bigger than we think." Ty questions, "What? Why do you say that?" Gabby tells him, "There's been a press blackout. We're not allowed to report anything we saw in the Petalburg woods until they give us the say-so. For now, it's just Mr. Stone's daily constitutional disrupted by wild Pokemon attack." Ty says, "Huh? You mean all this footage I took was for nothing? I thought I had my first big scoop." Gabby says, "If only we knew what was in that letter Mr. Stone gave Sapphire. We reported on the news that Steven fellow the letter is addressed to would get it faster." Ty says, "Good point." But Mr. Stone handed the letter to Sapphire and told her to tell Steven what happened today. Gabby says, "Exactly, which means he knew in advance that no one would be permitted to report on the news. That's not all. The Devon Corporation is the biggest company in the Hoenn region. Why a letter? And why Sapphire? Why didn't he just call on the phone or send an email or ask the Devon Corporation employee to deliver it? What's in that letter anyway?" Ty says, "I'm getting cold feet. Gabby, let's stay out of this." But Gabby slaps him on the shoulder saying, "What are you saying, Ty? This is what investigative journalism is all about. We got a glimpse of the kidnappers. Let's start there. That mark on the banana they were wearing. Sapphire said those Pokemon had the same mark on them. I bet it's the symbol of the organization they work for. Come on, start searching that symbol." Ty says okay and uses his laptop to search. Gabby asks, "Well, did you find anything?" Ty says, "Just a second. I found it, Gabby. Team Aqua." Gabby says, "Team Aqua?" As we cut back to the Rustboro gym, where Roxanne has come out, a poster on the board saying, "I love to study. You too can be a honor student. Pokemon Trader School alumni. Rustboro gym leader Roxanne's special exam." Roxanne says to Sapphire, "I'm Rustboro's gym leader and this school's honor student who graduated with the highest grades. My name's Roxanne." Sapphire leaps forward saying, "So you're the gym leader here. Then I challenge you." Roxanne kind of dismisses her saying, "Okay, I'm handing out tests at the moment." Sapphire's tripped up and says, I came here to challenge you to a gym battle. If you're busy with your teaching, you can fight me after." Suddenly, Sapphire is grabbed. She says, "Hello? When and where can I have my gym battle? She tells the people who shove her into a chair, hey, what do you think you're doing now? Roxanne wags her finger saying, questions are only to be asked once you are seated and by raising your hand. And this ain't the Roxanne I remember. Then again, she would just go and fight her and go about your business, from what I remember at least. Sapphire goes, huh? Roxanne says, if you wish to take part in a gym battle, you came to the right place. This exam is the very gym battle you're asking for. And she hands Sapphire a paper while Sapphire goes, what? Roxanne walks down the stairs saying, too many trainers wish to battle me. To have them take this exam first. I administer the test once a week. Whoever receives the best grade earns the chance to fight a Pokémon battle with me. You got here just in time to take it. Alright then, you may begin. Sapphire says, I don't believe this. A test to have a gym battle? Oh well, taught me and warned me that every gym has its own special set of rules, and a fire is lit in her eyes. But as she sees all of the info, she goes, what does this word say? When a Pokemon it loses its... I'm not good with vocabulary. Roxanne calls out, you may request the reading of a word if you wish. Sapphire calls out, hey, I have a question. The man comes out saying, quiet. She asks the man, how do you read this? The man says, when a Pokemon is poisoned. Sapphire asks, what about this? The man says, it loses its stamina. Can't you even read simple words like that? The bell rings. And Roxanne at the front of the class says, I will announce your grades very shortly. She tells Sapphire, as for you, feel free to return once you've increased your vocabulary. Suddenly someone comes bursting in and whispers over to Roxanne, who says, well now, we finished grading your test, and for the first time in the history of this exam, someone has received a perfect score. Let me guess who it is. Roxanne is gasped, saying the fine student with the highest honor is, reads the scribble, Sapphire Bird? She then looks to Sapphire saying, oh my, are you Professor Birch's? Sapphire blushes saying, you know my pop? You see, I knew everything on your test, I just couldn't read the words, which I kind of figured. It's like the child of a Pokemon professor, of course she knows all of the information, but that's also a good lesson that some people, they know a lot. They just might not be able to answer it in the traditional way that you might expect. It goes to show that, education is good and all, but you don't always apply it correctly to the right kinds of people. Roxanne seems aghast but says, yes, the student with the best grade on the exam is Sapphire. Suddenly a button comes out of Roxanne's desk and she slams it saying, and now you have the right to challenge me. The desk then slide open, revealing a Pokemon battle stage. Roxanne calls out, the written exam is a part of the gym battle, and this classroom is where the gym battle takes place. Now then, please stand on the challenger's side. This will be a one-on-one battle, and each trainer may use 2 Pokemon. Sapphire comes leaping over the various desks, landing in a battle crouch stance, saying, now I can fight you with everything I got. Roxanne pulls a Pokeball out of her book. I love that she has a hollowed out book. Oh, so elaborate. I do not remember Roxanne being this theatrical. Roxanne says the second test is the practical exam? Did Roxanne trip over her words? Weird. She says begin. And so Roxanne sends out Nosepass while Sapphire sends out Aaron. I remember having a hard time against Nosepass the first time I went into the fight. I don't remember why though. Maybe I just didn't level up enough for the first challenge. Well, Sapphire has Aaron use Metal Claw, but Roxanne has Nosepass use Harden to endure the attack. Sapphire says, I don't know what type of Pokemon you're using, but you sure are strong. I better change the chick now. Come back, Rono. Wait, what? But Aaron's still out of its ball. Sapphire looks saying, hold on a sec. Roxanne says, you can't return your Aaron to its Pokeball now. Oh, does she have some kind of technique? Was that what I got caught in? Oh, we then cut to Route 105, where we see a fisherman, Mr. Briny. I vaguely remember that name. Yeah, the guy who got his Wingull kidnapped. Gotcha. Won't look any further than that. Mr. Briny says, what have you found, Pico? A person? He sees Ruby adrift on a piece of wood. Mr. Briny says, how odd. What's he doing floating in the sea? Ah, well, I suppose I'll have to help him. Seaman's code and all that. And as Ruby is fished out of the water by Mr. Briny, it's 76 days left until the deadline. To be continued. I really don't remember a lot about Roxanne, if I'm being honest, whether it was the anime or the game, but they made her fun enough. It's also interesting the two plot lines that Ruby and Sapphire found themselves in. Ruby just tripping through happenstance after happenstance, but the moments he had with Wally were really fun. I do wonder if Ruby will get his routes back, or will it just simply continue to be with Wally? Because I know that Wally had a routes at some point, right? Yeah, it's one of the first Pokemon you get. Though him having a Kelsey is new, at least to me. Yeah, I don't remember him having a Kelsey. But Sapphire getting caught up in Team Aqua affairs makes sense. Sapphire, of course. But I do wonder, how will Ruby get caught up with Team Magma, and how? It also makes a lot of sense because, especially once you get to the Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire games, Team Aqua ends up coming off a lot more rough and tumble, while Team Sapphire and Team Magma comes off a lot more prim and proper, which that makes a lot of sense considering how Ruby and Sapphire actually are in this series. But I liked that Ruby had the want to help out Wally, despite everything. Yeah, he didn't want to completely leave the kid dejected. But Norman's reasoning made a lot of sense to me, and I could kind of get behind that. But enough from me, let me hear from you. What are your thoughts on these chapters? What was your favorite part? And whose storyline are you the most interested in? So remember to like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the ride. Thanks so much for watching. And until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din and hope to see you later. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.